You know, taking care of ourselves during these unusual times is a high priority, and your mental health is as important as your physical health. Forest View Hospital is here to help when there's a traumatic experience, like a global pandemic. Alyssa Smith is the trauma program coordinator. She's joining us this morning. Hello, Alyssa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, thanks for being here. Talk about trauma. And some people may not realize that they're in a traumatic experience. What does it feel like?
Yeah, so most people think about trauma in terms of specific events like war or specific types of abuses, but anything has the potential to be a traumatic experience. Any negative experience can be traumatic. And what's traumatic for one person might not necessarily be traumatic for someone else. Trauma is more about the reaction to the event than the event itself. Traumatic reactions include feeling a sense of hopelessness, deep distress about the event, helplessness. It can even manifest in flashbacks, nightmares, and even physical symptoms.
So it's important what you just said, that a traumatic reaction is different. It's subjective. It's personal for each person. And really, I think one of the big groups going through this may be adolescents, our kids, our teenagers right now.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has experienced a certain extent of loss due to this pandemic, but I do especially think of the adolescents at this time. They have experienced very significant losses. The loss of their regular average school life, which involves social connections. For some, it's a sense of safety and stability, being able to go to school. And especially getting back to this time right now, this back to school time, which is looking very different for kids these days. I think we're going to see some more of those, that impact of these losses on these children.
Absolutely.
And it's difficult for all of them, but it becomes traumatic when it's accompanied by this sense of lack of control in their life, struggling with their identity and sense of belonging, and that can really impact our adolescents.
And of course, grown-ups too. We're talking about the budgets, the job loss. A lot of people out of work right now, financial hardship. I mean, there's uncertainty, not to mention the loss of social connection that we have with each other. So tell us what Forest View Hospital is doing and what they're offering, what they have available for people who might be suffering. I mean, you have a dedicated trauma program.
Yes, we do. We do have a dedicated trauma program. It exists within our I apologize, in our inpatient hospital setting. It's additional services that are available to patients who have been identified as being able to benefit from specific trauma programming. They learn, one, how to identify the impact that trauma has had on them. Even if the trauma was years ago, it can impact them in ways that they may not even realize. How they view themselves, how they view their identity and their control in life, how they act in relationships, and even how they think and behave in certain situations. So one, it helps them identify the impact that trauma has had on them. And it also helps them to heal, to manage emotions related to trauma, and then challenge some of those automatic behaviors and thoughts that have been a result of the trauma that they've experienced.
Absolutely. Want to avoid those triggers. Hey, Alyssa, thank you so much for the time. If you or a loved one is in need of additional mental health services, there's the number right there on your screen. As you just heard Alyssa say, it's dedicated to this one thing, 949-8439. You can go to forestviewhospital.com, get their assessment and referral team. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, thanks, Alyssa, for being here. We'll be right back.